Great to meet you. All right, first session, women in public service. This is big. A lot of people want to find ways to give back. Here to talk about the challenges, the rewards, also what's next by inspiring our young people, the next generation. I would love to invite up to the stage Jamie Jones Miller, State Senator Jennifer Carroll Foy, formerly seen on Fox 5 talking about this conference. Thanks for joining us. Former Congresswoman, former Congresswoman Barbara Comstock. She's here. I didn't see. Yeah, she's here. Yay. Shea Holman, Manassas City Council member, the Honorable Sonia Vásquez, Luna, esteemed panel joining us today. Oh, this double mic thing is messing me up. I don't. It's like I have two personalities here. How you doing, Angie? I'm fine. Okay, you guys ready to get started? Let's go. Yeah. Take it away.
Thank you, Angie.
Take it away.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Jamie Jones Miller. I am the inaugural dean and CEO of Northeastern University's campus here in Arlington, Virginia. I am very excited to be here with this power panel of trailblazing women, women who have inspired many others to follow in their footsteps, and women who have probably hit a few obstacles or challenges along the way. Women who, when they had that 6:30 a.m. wake-up call on a Saturday morning, probably had to muscle their way to get up and face the world. And women who are doing many things at once, and they're doing it well. And so we're here today to hear from this esteemed group of women about their journeys into public service, advice that they're going to have for the next generation, and maybe they'll share a few of their secrets to success, but also maybe sometimes where they fell down and they had to pick themselves up. So to get this rolling, I'm just curious in the audience, how many of you have started something new recently or are about to start something new? Raise your hand. Thank you. That's a lot of people in this room who are thinking about what's next and maybe have a little anxiety. Maybe they're a little nervous about what's coming. So to our panel, we've all entered a space, a position, a role, maybe a new room for the first time. We've taken on a new responsibility. How do you prepare to do something that you have never done before? And what advice would you give to all of these women who are getting ready to do something brand new? So I'm going to start. Jen, I'm going to come to you, and Sonia, I'm going to end with you.
Can you hear me?
No. Mic's on. Okay, we got it now.
Okay, can you hear me? All right. So I have to say that I was raised by my grandmother in Petersburg, Virginia. And she had me in church 3 days a week. And one of the things that she always told me is that I can do all things through Jesus Christ, who strengthens me. And so the good thing about that is that I have this part of me that's pretty much fearless. I do think that there are no barriers except for the ones that I create for myself. And so that's a good thing, but that can also be a not so good thing in that you don't always take a temperature of what's happening and where you are. So one of the things that I jumped in with both feet is that, you know, the last 2017 election when Trump was elected, and I felt like something needed to be done. There needed to be a response. And not only that, I was a public defender. And I saw how our laws were stacked against people who were impoverished. I saw that there was a criminal justice system for the haves and for the have-nots. And I wanted to pass good laws instead of always fighting against bad ones. So then I decided to run for office and run for the House of Delegates. And run for the House of Delegates to flip a seat from red to blue. And to run for the House of Delegates knowing that most of these seats cost over $500,000 and all I could raise was $10,000. running for office when my opponent had every single endorsement and I had none. And then to find out, I believe 3 months into my race, that I was pregnant with not one, but 2 babies during my election. So again, being fearless has its benefits, but then you end up in situations like those. And so I can tell you the good thing is that you have to be in it to win it. You have to be unafraid and full of confidence in who you are and what you have to offer. And as long as I have the backing of my husband and my family and my faith, and I feel like I'm doing the right thing, then I'm gonna go for it, right? And someone asked, well, how are you able to power through? And I said, when you want something like you want it, like air to breathe, then there is nothing that can stop you. And if God has, set you on this path, then you can't fail. You can't fall. You have to believe. And as women, we not only have to believe when society and everyone else tells us no, but we also have to reach behind us and bring up more women that are coming as well.
Here we are. And we're off. This is great. All right, Shea.
Well, it's wonderful to be here with all of you. Can you hear me as well? And hard to follow that, which I'm realizing now maybe I sat in the wrong seat. I might know that. But I want to say I raised my hand when we were talking about doing something new, because my whole life, really, my whole career has been doing something new. I am an attorney by trade. I had no attorneys in my family. And I am now in academia. I have no one that I know in my family or even friends who are in academia. I often get mistaken for a student on campus. And so that is something that I am finding, my way, my footing. But what I have noticed and what I call my superpower has always been curiosity. I am a very curious person. You can ask my parents. Since I was a teeny tiny girl, my mom would take me on walks in the park. She said it would take us 3.5 hours to get home because I'd pick up every rock, every stick, every leaf, and show it to her. And her being the wonderful mother she is, she never rushed me. But I'm a very curious person, and I think that is what has really served me well when I'm entering new experiences, because I take it as an opportunity not to go into my shell, but to ask questions and to say, you know what? I'm not the smartest person in the room here, or I'm certainly not the most experienced, but I can learn and I can really soak up things like a sponge. And because I want to get to know people, because I want to get to know things about the law or things about people's backgrounds, their families, my students are the most fascinating wealth of information. And I tell my students all the time, I'm not the smartest person in this classroom, because we all are very smart in different ways and we all have different skill sets. And you might be able to speak a language that I don't know, and you're coming from a background that I don't come from. So how do we come together and bring all of that knowledge into one really impactful plan or proposal or a lesson plan, whatever it may be? But I have always said, if I can walk into a room and lead with curiosity, then I remove some of the self-doubt that I have. And that has been really helpful for me in a personal and professional and kind of academic standpoint now. So come say hi to me during this conference, because I'm very curious and I would love to get to know you.
Okay, thank you. Barbara.
Right. Well, it is wonderful to be here at George Mason. And as President Washington was speaking, I did want to also plug George Mason. Also, I've done things at UVA too, so plug Virginia schools. But when I was a chief counsel on the Hill in one of my jobs, even though I went to George, where did I go? For law school. There you go. Georgetown. I know it's a George guy. Sorry, senior moment. I hired more George Mason law schools, so it's like a Scalia Law School now, students than Georgetown. So often when kids were trying to decide, I said, please look at George Mason, because it's a great law school and you'll have a lot less debt, when you're done. So great school here. And also my daughter, who came here for the forensics program, master's program, after met her husband here in the forensics program. So it's also a great way to find your future in that way too. So I am a big fan of Mason. So just wanted to put that plug in there. And you can also be working. She also started the job she has now that she's had going on over 10 years now. She got while she was here. So that's the also great thing here. You can go to school while you're working. And that was a big advantage of a lot of the law students. They would come here and get their law degree while they were working on the Hill, never missed a beat. And they were moving up a lot faster than the kids who left and went to law school elsewhere. So wanted to put in that plug for Mason while I'm here. So I also wanted to put in another thing just to celebrate that as women, while we're all here, for the first time in the history of Virginia, we just elected the first woman governor in Her Excellency Abigail Spanberger. Now I'm here as I am still a Republican, but I did I did support Abigail. I was very proud to do an ad for her with another Republican. So that such is the world that we live in these days. And my right now former party, but I stay in it to say, I was here first. I'm not going to get kicked out by a guy who, but that's kind of why we're all here today. We are women and we are not going to get pushed around by the guys, right? And it was just so wonderful to see Abigail win, and I think that's all. The message here for women is, get out there and lead. And her story, I think I really related to, and we became friends quickly when we met after she came in as I left Congress. But her story was, very similar to mine. She's one of three daughters, the oldest of three daughters. I am too. She has three daughters. I have two boys and a girl. But it was just so wonderful to see those three daughters behind her, so proud that their mom, Her Excellency is the first woman governor. But like her, I have a mom who was, a working mom and, was out there as an activist also. And, my mom was an educator and a teacher, and she was my first leader who got me out there and active and wanting to be we're from Massachusetts, so one of my earliest memories was out there with the Kennedy signs, putting them up. So I was always big on signs, and so I always wanted to be engaged in government and politics. And actually, interning for Senator Kennedy was one of my first jobs. I was just doing a panel with Joe Kennedy yesterday down in Texas, and I did remind him of that. So somewhat come full circle now. But I did, along the way, become a Republican, but I don't need to go into why. But I did work for my local congressman here, who was Frank Wolf, but I went to Georgetown Law School, had three kids, but continued to work throughout my life. Never thought I was going to get involved in politics. But one of the things that I did do, when you get a good education, don't get too worried, when you're, a young person, what you're going to do. I knew I wanted to be engaged in public service, but I was never really sure what I wanted to do. And as it turned out throughout my career, I pretty much switched jobs every 3 to 5 years, and I didn't really know what I wanted, but once I got a job, I just ended up falling into the next job, which was just it was fun. Someone said, hey, you should do this. Hey, you should do this. And after my first job, I never had to look for another job because I would and it wasn't networking, it was relationships. And public service, I think, really is having a passion for what you're doing and being involved with helping people and, just being involved in your communities and engaged on issues you care about. And so it will lead you into, different, paths and things. And there's all kinds of ways you can do it. Now, I was really an accidental candidate because my husband's a teacher, so he's also involved in public service. And because we had 3 kids, it didn't occur to me that I could really run for office because you have to raise a lot of money. The salaries aren't that great. I'm a lawyer, so I figured, I was the primary breadwinner in the family. When it did come time that the kids had to go to college, I was like, oh, I guess we need to make some more money because we were both in public service. And, I was at the Justice Department at this point in my head. I said, okay, the second kid's going to college now. How are we going to pay that next tuition? I was like, okay, I guess I need to go out into the private sector now. So, then I did that, but then, got dragged back in. So, I think the real thing is in your passion, how you get involved in that is not so much, it's not like, I think for women, it's often not like the guys, they decide they're going to, run for president when they're like 12, right? And I think for women, it's not that way. And actually, no one ever told me like, hey, you should run for office, right? No one ever tells us that. And I actually started a women in leadership program when I was in the House of Delegates, because I realized after I was elected, no one had ever told me that. And I realized young women needed to see themselves in that role as leaders, because when I was in high school, I was terrified to run for anything, because to stand up in front of people and talk, as they tell you, is the most frightening thing in the world. You're still terrified to do that. And I remember one of the things I worked on along the way in my many careers was confirmation hearings for Chief Justice John Roberts. And one of the things, and I still always think about it now, is it was said that whenever he had to make a Supreme Court argument, because he would argue before the court before he was on the court, is he would literally throw up before he had to make an argument. So I thought, wow, that's kind of a cool thing to know about, like, if he's that terrified to do that. And, he was very articulate and a great guy. And doing that, I mean, regardless of what politics are, I mean, he was good at doing that. That, hey, maybe it's, guys don't always talk about that, but it's, women should know those kind of things, So it's for young women, they need to see, but my program was all about women seeing themselves as leaders and thinking about themselves as leaders at an earlier age, because we often don't tell young women to be leaders. And it wasn't until I was older and my kids were out of the house, and actually when I ran for the House of Delegates, it really was accidental because they just needed somebody. And I was running against another woman, actually a good friend of mine now, as it is, because I'm now helping Democrats get elected. So we all become friends now. Donald Trump unites everybody. And so, I was, they had called me to say, hey, it was really because Republicans, this is the way the guys often think, hey, we need a woman because the candidate's a woman. So I didn't have much competition, because they figured they needed a woman. And I went to an event to talk to the then Speaker of the House, who actually was wonderful in supporting me. I have to say, I really had a lot of support from the men at that time in the Virginia State House. And he thought I had actually made the decision to run, but I really had not. We had talked and he was wonderful to me. And so I'm at this event and he announces to the room full of people there at somebody else's event, well, hey, this is a candidate who's running. But we have another candidate here. Barbara Comstock is going to run. Well, I had not made the decision yet. Awkward. And so he literally pushed me into the pool and said she's running. Now, it was accidental. He didn't know I hadn't made the decision. And so everybody clapped. And I was like, okay, they didn't laugh. They said yay. And so I went home and told my husband, I think I'm going to run. They seemed to think it was a good idea. I had my own business at that time. My business partner said, hey, when we have our own businesses, we get to decide what we want to do. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Barbara, do you want to do it? And here you are. And so I did that for 5 years. And then when my former boss retired and ran, by that time I said, oh, right, I can decide. I don't need to get pushed into the pool anymore, which often women, and so as I tell women, don't wait to be asked to the prom, don't wait to be pushed into the pool, make that decision yourself, which by the time I ran for Congress, and I had 5 male opponents, only one of whom called to congratulate me and concede when I won the nomination. The other 4 did not.
Barbara, can we
Yeah, so,
hold there
yeah.
for a second?
So that-
Because I want to come back to some of that after
Yeah,
your election
so, but
point.
do it, jump in, and,
Jump in or get pushed?
Yeah.
No. Just for the record, I did not get sick this morning before speaking in front of a group of 500 people. Sonia.
Hey, buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
I'm like, what am I supposed to say after them? Voy a empezar a hablar en español. It's a great honor, and I'm very thankful to our senator for bringing us together. And everything you have said. I mean, whoever is bringing us together, but as a women, you see the change right here at this table, and it is amazing that you get to experience and share. One of the biggest things is for us to be able to talk to each other, to network, and also when we go back to continue those connections. But anyway, my name is Sonia Vásquez Luna. I'm the first ever Hispanic person elected in Manassas City. Thank you. Manassas City is a 42% Latino, and in 150 years, we never had a Hispanic person elected. I serve with the majority of the most diverse council. We have the first woman and the first African American person to be a mayor. Her name is Michelle Davis Younger. Thank you, thank you. And I will say I served 10 years at the elections. I volunteered for over 10 years. I never even imagined my name in there because that was never in my radar. People ask me about, applying for appointments. I said no, because I was putting my family first. I used to be an active duty military spouse. So when they said to me, I was like, oh, no, I have to help my family. And during the transition for retirement, I'm like, no, I can't do any public service. I can't not even think about all the things. And well, I've been divorced since then, and I'm fighting, and I'm doing different things. I will say how en español, I will say Filipenses 4:13, todo lo puedo en Cristo que me fortalece. So I will leave that. I thank you for the Bible verse that you said. Same thing. I grew up in the church. I'm a Christian. I believe, and I bring my faith. I remember somebody told me when I had my first baby, they said, if you don't know what to do or what to say, just start saying all the Bible verses that you know. And I would say apply it to everything. You're never gonna be 100% ready. You're never going to be, take all your studies that you want to take or be full ready. As a woman, we want to be 1,000% ready. For me, I always try to be at the next level. So right now, I'm an elected official in Manassas City, but I'm also elected official in my union, and I represent 4,250 employees. Thank you. In 100 different places, and I am not only ready to help them, but also to, lead through the government shutdown. I have lost 5 contracts, but I know I'm not here for that. I'm just saying, you as a woman, if you don't remember anything else other than buenos dias today, please remember, you will never be 100%, but when God puts something in your heart, you have to do it. You're not gonna be ready, but you have to step by faith and do it. I can think of many of you there from Manassas that you should be in office, that you should be running for office. And I will say, I did it because I wanted to be a voice for the Latino, but I didn't run for the Latino. I wanted to be a voice for the immigrant community because as a Salvadorian, I could bring that voice, and today more than ever, your voice is important. As females, as mothers, as caregivers, our voice is unique, and that's why I'm so proud to be here with you. So I will say, whatever part of the Bible or whatever faith of God that you believe in, use that, and you're never gonna be ready. Listen to people around you. They are the ones that are gonna support you. I have 2 of my best friends here, my sisters, Xiomara At least Barahona, I couldn't do what I do without them and many. I mean, we have the chairwoman of the Democratic African American Caucus right here, EJ. This is people that I look up to. So please talk to us, spend some time with us. You know, it's okay to be afraid. It's okay not to be ready, but it's not okay not to listen to your heart and to God-given calling. You have to step up, and we will help you. That's why we're here. That's what this is for us to support each other, for us to make a change, because our country, our Virginia needs a change, and we did something. We elected the first, as she said it, we elected the first governor female, but we need to do more. We need to support, and there's always another election. There's always so many things coming, and I know we're not here for that, but you are the heart of the families. Whether it's just your own family, I got two teenagers, that's another story. But you are the influence, so make sure that you are, whether you run for the HOA or you run for, you know, for different boards, step up. Just for the fun of it, I'm going to tell you, I ran for board member in my my kids swimming team. There was 3 positions, and I don't know what happened. But when the election day came by, there was 3 people for 3 positions, and then suddenly it was only 2 positions on the day of the election, and I didn't get it. and it hurt. And the reason why I tell you is because you learn. But that didn't stop me from running for office. You know, you are gonna find things that hurt you, but also build you. You're gonna learn from it. And all I can say at the bottom line is, you are who you are. Nobody can, you know, people will say things, and a lot of times in politics, we call it noise. People will come at you and tell you all the bad things that you have done, or the bad things, or the reasons why you shouldn't do, or why you should do. All I'm saying, in your heart, look at your values, because that's what you bring to the table, who you are, who you've been, and let the noise go, and go to you. Go to your roots, go to the beliefs that you have, and trust yourself, because it don't matter what they say. If God has a calling for you, he's gonna take you to the next step.
So, a few notes I took. Todo es posible. Be fearless, but it's okay to be afraid. Be curious. Get out there. Tell someone what you see them doing, because no one else might do that for them. Switch a little bit to, I had some conversations in the room this morning, and many of you were excited about a thing or initiative or some passion that you had in your community or your neighborhood. And you were out there and you were doing something, you were using your voice. So I want to ask, I think I'm going to start with Jen and then come to Sonia. What is your advice to someone who has that calling to advocacy, maybe on a small issue, or maybe it's a really big issue? As you've engaged with your constituents and people in your community, what is that characteristic of the person who comes to you who's successful? What do they do when they bring you an issue? What advice could you give the people in the room that want to run with something today?
So I would say always start with a SMART action plan, right? And so something specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time bound. Because we have ideas. We find something that's wrong. We get really active Twitter fingers. We dislike and like stuff on social media. But at the end of the day, what impact is that having? I need us to channel that outrage into advocacy, into action. And what that looks like differs for every single person, right? So whether that's joining the PTA, whether that is running for office, whether that's joining organizations that's passionate about what you want to fight for. But right now, for me, my niche or my thing is getting as many women to run for office as I possibly physically can. I remember when I heard about Sonia running, she didn't know me. I showed up. I said, hi, I'm here to help. What do you need? Let's go knock doors. Is that right? And that's what it's about, helping each other. What I was just saying, you have to reach back and pull other people up with you. And she didn't need to know me because she is a woman who is running for office, who has a wonderful platform. She has a message and a path. Then my job is to support her, to give her what she needs. Because if she wins and I win, then we win. And that is how we have to look at this. So that is really, what I'm passionate about. I truly believe if you want something done right, if you want something done well, then have a woman do it. And so for us to get there, we gotta move. We can't be scared, guys. We can't wait for someone to come save us. We are who we've been waiting for. Okay, we lead communities, we lead families, right? We bring people with us on our shoulders. Not only are we responsible for most of the child caring and rearing, I mean, we have 4 or 5 different jobs, and we do it well because we're built for this, and we're built for this moment. I mean, look around, look who's in leadership, right? And so if we want something different, we have to do something different. So what I would push every person in this room to walk away, it doesn't have to be politics, but it needs to be something. And you need to walk away here engaged. Am I going to start a new business? Am I going to give back to my community in a form or fashion? Am I going to substitute teach? I mean, what is a need that I can fulfill that's going to fulfill me as well? Because we all have a role to play. We all have a job to do. And so my North Star is injustice and unfairness. And so that's why I'm a public defender. That is why I was a foster mom. That is why I'm a politician, elected official, because I don't want to just watch and hope and that the right thing will happen. I want to be involved and engage and advocate and hold people's feet to the fire and ask the tough questions and show up in rooms like this to motivate all of you amazing people to say, you matter and we can make the difference. And now is absolutely our time.
So Sonia, I'm gonna go to you. Barbara, I'm gonna give you the last word on this subject, and then we're gonna switch a little bit to the next generation of leadership. Sonia.
All right. So I remember that you said that the people see you as a student, and people will see you different ways. I've been called janitor, and I was a janitor when I came here to this country, and all I can tell you is I have a voice or a vote and a vote at the city council, and you need 4 votes in order to pass anything. It don't matter how they see you, you have a voice, and you have to make sure that, the people that surround you believe on what you want. I truly believe that when you say things that you want to accomplish, sometimes all I want to accomplish is to get a sidewalk fixed, or I just want to make sure that your trash is picked up. And I don't get a lot of calls that trash is not picked up, but I want to make sure that that doesn't happen. That's what I do. And it might not be sexy for Richmond, but for me, it's important, right? Sorry about it. But what I want to say is you got to make sure, that you are the light, you are working on what you do. I don't know if you ever heard about the lasagna ladies. They've been feeding people. So if you like doing lasagna, find the people that like cooking and they do lasagna, because you can help families, especially today. I mean, like today we have to feed more people. So that is just one example. For me, having a voice, as an immigrant, the only reason why I wear this flag is because sometimes people treat you different. And I'm proud, but I have to say, there's people that when they can't hear me, because a lot of times I speak softly, they can hear me, so they start saying, oh, I don't speak Spanish. And I said, it's okay, I speak English. So what I'm saying is that don't worry about, even when you're doing what you love and you are coming from, from who you are and giving that, it's still people that's going to do, things to treat you different, but don't let that stop you. To me, it's about, as a union leader, nobody sees me as a union thug or the union boss, but I am. But it's okay, because that I still win cases, and I'm making a difference. But I do fight for injustice. But to me, what's important, I like registering people to vote, to make sure they know when they go to vote. I like telling people if there is legislation or things that we need to change. It doesn't have to be politics for you. It might just be getting involved and making sure that the food bank has the food they needed, or asking for donations for your favorite nonprofit, or just bringing moms together for the soccer team. But just make sure nothing is too small. You making a, you're changing the world. Just see it from that. And when you put your heart, it's no hard. Even last thing, even this morning I went to sleep at 3, but I wasn't partying. I got back from a flight at 1 a.m. But I'm saying I love this because that's what I want. I want to be a light, whether my light is small or is big, I want to continue to give. And I will say, as older as I get, I appreciate even more our beauty queens here. Thank you for what you do. You have a big voice. You are a model, not only for our women and attendees here, but for my daughter, for my kids. So please know that voice that you have is amplified. You do have a microphone. And I thank you because you put yourself through a lot, to get where you are. And you are a voice, you are a light, and everybody's watching you. And I really thank you for what you do. So continue doing that.
Okay, so I want to come to Barbara though, what's the one characteristic of the person who came to you in your office who was successful in getting you to move the needle? And then we've got about 4 minutes left, and I want to give advice to the next generation. What's that one thing, Barbara?
Well, I think it's tell your story, and I think and it's kind of relevant to today because it was on healthcare. And when I was there, remember the big thumbs down that John McCain gave on repealing Obamacare. And so I heard lots of stories when they were trying to repeal Obamacare. And I was one of the 17 in the House who did not vote to repeal it because Republicans were not going to keep in pre-existing conditions. In the bill that they came up with, I was not satisfied, and the other 16 of us weren't either. And so as people came in and told their stories, and I certainly had family with cancer and Alzheimer's and all those things, and we kept arguing with our colleagues, you're not protecting pre-existing conditions. You're not providing insurance that can satisfy us. So, and I would tell the stories of of my own family, of the people who came in. So always tell your stories, and you're seeing people now who have their premiums going from $500 to $2,000. So tell your stories, but also organize in coalitions and go in and tell your stories. If you have diabetes, if your families have Alzheimer's, tell the actual stories and give the numbers and make your representatives, face them. But when you go in, bring the paper and put the numbers down there and make them know those stories. And it's very impactful because I heard hundreds and hundreds of those, and then I could tell my colleagues. And that's why the 17 of us, and John McCain and Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, saved it then. And I think it's why it's such a big issue now and impacted the shutdown. And those SNAP and food stamp stories also impacted because it wasn't, those people have faces, and you all, maybe people who can't tell those stories, we as people, leaders can tell those stories, but all of you know those people too, in your churches and everywhere else. Tell the stories. Don't let those people be faceless. That's what you can do as leaders.
Outstanding. So Shea, I'm going to come back to you to bring this to a close. You work on a university campus. You have students who come into your classroom and they have big hopes and dreams. Some of them want to run for office. Some of them want to get involved in policy. What advice do you have for them, and what hope do you have about the next generation?
So I'm going to start with the hope piece because I love what you said about what is your North Star. I think I found my North Star when I started teaching. I was an adjunct for 2 years. This was my first full-time year. And really my students are my North Star. They are my hope. They are my motivation. They are my energy. When I get home from campus from an 18-hour day, my husband is like, you do not look tired. And I say, exactly, because I've worked all day. I've been in office hours. I've been teaching concepts that students are curious about, excited about, always ready to learn. And if you notice, I've been scribbling frantic notes today. They're not about what I'm going to say. It's what all these incredible women have said here today that I don't want to forget about. So really my students, if I can impart to them as students, as mentees, whatever it may be, some of what I have learned and some of what I've learned from other people and bring them into conversation with my students, it just helps them feel like they can achieve these things, which then gives them more energy, more motivation. I work with young women who are interested specifically in public service through our new Leadership Virginia program, which I help run over the summer. We have 1 week where we bring young women interested in public service from all around the Commonwealth to George Mason University's campus. And I tell them, I say, you know what my favorite thing in the world to be is? Underestimated. I love when people underestimate me. And if you know the quote, I'm going to say it, maybe next time you'll learn to estimate me. But that's truly my favorite. I say, I love being underestimated, but also be comfortable and be prepared to prove them wrong. You have to come prepared. And I love the idea about having this action plan and being ready to justify what you are bringing to the table, but also surprise them and let them be uncomfortable with that too. So the 3 pieces, and then I want to wrap it up and be brief. 1, you don't have to know everything to begin. You just have to be willing to learn. 2, it is not networking, it is building a community. You are building a community. You are not using people to get to the next step. You are bringing people into conversation, and they are also going to bring you into conversation. And 3rd, do not underestimate the power of your lived experience. We need it.
Well, by any estimation, the number of notes, the nodding of the heads, the woos, the applause, what a way to kick it off this morning. Please give this outstanding panel a huge round of applause. Thank you, ladies.
Am I back on? Back on? Hello, hello. Wonderful job, everybody. Jamie, thank you so much for leading that. Wonderful. I feel like we got like 6 keynotes already to kick us off. And Sonia, I'm with you. When I had my kids, like each one of them, I too turned to Bible verses. One that comes to mind was like, for this child I prayed. Why? And I did it again and again and again and again. No, actually, I no regrets. Well, it depends on the day because I got a 14-year-old girl right now. So, we're going through it, but amazing panel, motivational words, and a wonderful way to kick off this conference. Okay, but we are still just getting started, folks. Okay, at 10 a.m., we've got our breakout sessions beginning. We've got 2 sets of breakout sessions. I want to remind you that the resource fair that we have, it kind of winds around out in the lobby to the sides. That's going to be up and going until 2:30. So you have plenty of time to stop by and check out everything, including Inova Well, which is here. If you have any health questions, any questions about well-being, just want to remind you, it could be anything, menopause, mental health, get your blood pressure checked, your AC1, whatever you need, one of those things. They can do it for you, and they can do it for you free. So, and the free coaching is available.